as it approaches its one-year anniversary, the conflict in the Middle East is dangerously close to spiraling into an all-out multi-nation conflict. Now, that's because in just the last 2 weeks, we've seen Israel that has decimated the hierarchy of the terror group, that's the Hezbollah in Lebanon. After pager blast, walkie-talkie blast, there have been precision and aerial and rocket assaults that have taken out the Hezbollah's top leadership. And in the latest, Israel has also launched ground operations into Lebanon as well. While the Hezbollah has come under fire to Israel's north, to its south, you have the Houthis in Yemen that have also been struck. You also have the conflict in Gaza that continues as well, with Hamas remaining in Israel and Mossad's crosshairs. And you also have blasts that were reported in neighboring Syria's capital of Damascus. It's important to note here as well that Israel isn't only an aggressor here. All the regimes against it, including Iran, have also launched rockets or drone attacks against Israel, though few have been able to hit their mark because of Israel's very sophisticated defense capabilities. And this also includes the much talked about Iron Dome missile defense system. Let's first up here what Israel has said to all its enemies.
אנחנו רואים היום את התקיפה במרחק של 2,000 קילומטר בחודדה ובסביבתה, וההישגים כמו שהם משתקפים לנו הם מאוד מרשימים, והמשמעות היא ברורה. מי שמנסה לתקוף אותנו או לפגוע באזרחי ישראל ישלם מחיר כבד מאוד. אין לנו עניין להרחיב את המלחמה, אין לנו עניין לחפש חזיתות נוספות, אבל אם מישהו יתקוף את ישראל כמו שעשו החות'ים לאחרונה בטילים ולאורך כל המלחמה בתקק ובתלשים ובכטב"מים, כל אחד שיבצע פעולה כזאת אנחנו נבוא איתו חשבון, ואנחנו יודעים לעשות את זה במקביל לדברים אחרים. ביום הזה חיל האוויר, צה"ל, תקפו גם בלבנון וגם בעזה וגם כאן, ואנחנו יכולים לפעול בעוד מקומות.
כל מי שפוגע, מנסה לפגוע באזרחי מדינת ישראל, נגיע אליו. זה הכי פשוט. ונעמיד כל ערכה שנצטרך עם כל יכולת שיש לנו, ויש לנו פה עוד יכולות רבות להעמיק, להרחיב את הפגיעה.
And as this escalation has taken place, the US has completely backed Israel, calling this Israel's right to self-defense. This, remember, is also coming even as the US president has stated that escalation should be avoided at all costs. First up, listen into what we've heard from the US president, followed by a report that tells us more of how US is looking at this evolving situation.
Can an all-out war in the Middle East be avoided? It has to be. We really have to avoid it. We've already taken precautions relative to our embassies and personnel who want to leave, but we're not there yet. But we're working like hell with the French and many others to do good work.
Lebanon is on fire after Israel's weekend assassination of Hezbollah's leader, a move that threatens to let loose a wider war in the region. On Monday, President Joe Biden was unequivocal about what needs to happen next.
I'm more aware than you might know, and I'm comfortable with them stopping. We should have a ceasefire now.
But the question is how? How is Washington, Israel's main weapons supplier, going to pull the plug on this violence? VOA asked the White House.
Our policy has not changed. It just hasn't. It has not changed.
Lebanon's leaders say they have no faith in Israel's intentions.
The government is doing everything in its power to confront this destructive, hateful war that Israel is waging against us. And we went to the United Nations looking for a solution, and we met with world leaders. But the enemy went with the intention of treachery and planning more massacres.
And Israel's leader indicated Monday that he is digging in for a fight.
We are at war for our very existence. We will join forces, go hand in hand, and defeat our enemies.
Meanwhile, Washington is joined by other powers in begging for this to stop.
There is still hope, but time is short. I therefore urge Israel to refrain from any ground incursions and to a ceasefire. I call on Hezbollah to do the same and to refrain from any action likely to lead to regional destabilization.
Analysts say Biden and allies have given Netanyahu options to stop the violence by pushing for a 21-day ceasefire in Lebanon and a deal to free hostages held by Hamas in Gaza as a step toward ending that conflict.
Unfortunately, I would say that the history of their conversations over the past year has been that regardless of what the president's arguments are, regardless of what he has pushed, Benjamin Netanyahu is following his own course and is not responding to U.S. concerns or advice.
For the people of southern Lebanon and for the region, these are not abstract discussions. This is a matter of life or death.
You also have a number of defense experts who've spoken on this latest series of escalations. Their views pertained to many aspects of this conflict. Listen in to what they say.
The war in Ukraine, Palestine, Gaza is now slowly spreading to Lebanon and Yemen, besides Syria, as also the Houthi attacks in the Red Sea channels and the Gulf of Aden. What are the pivotal global crises that are taking place? There are forced displacements in Palestine and Gaza, as also giving rise to famine risk. In Ukraine, infrastructure damage and lives are in danger. In Syria, destruction, displacement and spread of diseases. Similarly, in Lebanon, there is destruction and the spread of various kinds of diseases taking place. There are severe humanitarian crises being generated in Yemen.
The whole energy block of the world, the biggest block, will get affected. And you know, when energy prices, when diesel price, petrol price, everything goes up, gas price go up, so everything else goes up. Transportation gets expensive, day-to-day things like even vegetables being carried from one place to another, everything gets affected. So the impact, if I had to summarize it, it is going to be very, very adverse. India, the biggest strength we have is we can actually survive.
This shows that in the coming days, the economy of the world is going to be impacted very severely. We have to prepare for that, and it is better for India that we look into alternatives to ensure that our way of growth that is going on today does not get impacted at all. Because these wars are not going to stop so soon, and the people behind getting these wars, or rather supporting these various groups, are not going to let go very easily.
And there is another angle to the entire story. This is the diplomatic angle. This is about foreign policy. And this is also about India, because India, remember, also plays a pivotal role in this entire conflict. That is because you have the Prime Minister earlier speaking to the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu last evening, and he gave a twofold message. The Prime Minister said that escalation needs to be avoided, but also added that there is no place for terrorism in the world. To this, you have the Congress responding, raising objections. They're asking, why is the Prime Minister attempting to resolve a conflict overseas when here in Manipur, he does not care? That's the charge that the Congress is making. At the same time, India has been a witness to a curious set of prayer meets and protest over the assassination of the Hezbollah chief Nasrallah. This is after the PDP and some other Jammu and Kashmir politicians even saw official days of mourning in India over Nasrallah's killing.